Welcome back, familiar to Northside LDN. Caramba. Today we've got Calafiori out injured for 3 weeks. Obviously, Calafiori was injured in international break. We've got the Daily Cannon reporting that the Italian international has been confirmed to have suffered a knee injury and returned to Arsenal midway through the March international break. It goes on to say the Italian national team confirmed on Friday afternoon that the Arsenal defender Riccardo Calafiori is returning to Arsenal following an injury in their game against Germany earlier this week. According to the statement, Calafiori underwent a medical test on Friday morning to assess the injury in his left knee, and he was subsequently deemed to be unavailable to return for the return leg in the Germany tie. The Marzio has reported earlier in the day that Calafiori has a knee ligament injury, but the good news is that the initial signs are that it's not a serious one. Even so, the player is expected to miss 2 to 3 weeks of action, and Arsenal will carry out further assessments upon the defender's return. A 2-week absence would see Calafiori missing Arsenal's upcoming games against Fulham and Everton, whilst 3 weeks could mean he also misses the first leg of Arsenal's Champions League quarter-final against Real Madrid and the following Premier League game against Brentford. If the defender does miss the full 3 weeks, you'd imagine he'd also be a serious doubt to start the second leg of the Champions League quarter-final in Madrid. That still leaves 6 Premier League games and any further Champions League fixtures Arsenal could potentially still play. So Calafiori's season is far from over, but it's another frustrating setback. This will be Calafiori's 3rd knee injury of the season, in addition to the 2 muscle injuries he had since joining Arsenal last summer. Yeah, this ain't looking good for him in terms of injuries. He continues to keep getting injuries. He's only been brought into the team, into the club this summer. So yeah, it's not looking great. It's not looking great. Listen, I wish him a speedy recovery. Calafiori for me wouldn't have been a starter against Real Madrid anyway. I think Lewis Skelly, you saw the performance that he had against Albania, scoring the first goal for England. Not only scoring his goal, but I think Lewis Skelly technically better than him. Defensively, he's very good and still offers, a lot going forward without being a bozo in defense. I think Calafiori is absolutely horrendous defensively. 1v1, constantly getting cooked. Let's be real. You know what I mean? Calafiori got cooked this season already by Garnacho and Hudson-Odoi. I don't think you can really make a claim for Calafiori to be the Maldini of defenders when this filo da puta was getting cooked by Hudson-Odoi and man like Garnacho. You know what I mean? I think that's exactly shows you what the level of player he is in terms of, defending. Going forward, Calafiori, he offers a lot. He's fast. He gets into dangerous areas. He gets into the box, he links up decently. He's got a decent pass. He's got a decent shot. I remember the goal he scored against Man City, So Calafiori, in terms of going forward, he's all right. There's been games where he's, hit the post and stuff. But, that's why I'd say I'd use Calafiori more as a winger. Maybe in that sense, we could utilize him more. Because at the moment, it's not like Trossard or Martinelli's really holding down that left wing position. Both of them have been rubbish this season. Both of them have been inconsistent. Both of them have not been good enough. I think Calafiori as a left winger would be a lot better than Calafiori as a left back. And I said this from the start. I said the way he plays, he doesn't play like a left back. He plays like a winger. Maybe he was a winger before. Maybe he was a failed winger that turned into a fullback. But ultimately, I don't think against Real Madrid, you can't let Calafiori go up against Rodrigo. Rodrigo would absolutely cook him. There is no way in hell. If Calafiori can't handle Garnacho and Hudson-Odoi, there is no chance that Rodrigo wouldn't cook this guy. Rodrigo's cold in the close control. Skillful, fast. Like Calafiori, leaves too much to be desired. Positionally, he's very, very poor. Defensively, winning the ball back 1v1, poor. A lot of times ball watching. I remember the goal from Leicester. They slapped it. In the far post, it came from Calafiori's side. He was ball watching the whole time they crossed it to the player on his side. The guy just always caught ball watching, always out of position, always plays a high line and then struggles to get back. I just think there's too there's too many negatives to his game in terms of playing that defensive left back role. But like I said, as a winger, I think he could offer something to the team. You know what I mean? Is he the answer as a winger? No, but at the same time, he offers something. You know what I mean? But for me, the amount of injuries he's getting as well is really poor. Like, was his injury record like this at his previous club? Probably not. You know, we've seen this before. Thomas Partey wasn't injury prone. Comes to Arsenal, his start at Arsenal, the first 2-3 years, he's getting loads of injuries. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Declan Rice, I never heard of him being injured for West Ham. You know what I mean? This season, he had a broken toe. I know injuries happen, but I don't feel like at Arsenal, I don't feel like we monitor the injuries properly. Declan Rice, broken toe this season. Arteta still playing him for loads of games. Ben White injured, you know, from the start of the season, still playing loads of games to the point where he can now, you know what I mean? It got to the point where he couldn't play anymore. And then Arteta was forced to get him out of the starting 11. Odegaard was injured and Arteta played him injured. You know, Saka was injured, he played him injured. That's the problem, you know what I mean? And I think eventually one of these players, Arteta's going to ruin their careers because you can't keep aggravating injuries and bringing players back and trying to, you know, force players to play with injury and through pain. Like eventually, you know, either the injury gets worse or it will become a reoccurring injury. And then you can ruin a player's career like that. So listen, I may not be the biggest fan of Calafiori, but I don't want his career ended. I don't want him to become that kind of player that's injury prone. The fact that he keeps getting knee injuries might be the fact, you know, that we're just bringing him back way too early. I know Arteta's under pressure, but at the same time, I feel like it's extremely selfish to be putting your shortcomings in the way that you built this team, you know what I mean, and not taking accountability and rushing these players back and you know, messing up their career because you know that you effed up in terms of fixing the squad and you don't want to rely on players that you brought to the club, i.e. Zinchenko, you know. But that's what I think about this injury, man. I just think let him recover. For me, he wouldn't have been, you know, our first choice left back. Let's be real. With Ben White back as well, you can play Ben White right back, you can play Timber left back, or you can play Lewis Skelly left back. You know, at this point in time, Calafiori for me is a third choice left back. You know, he's not the number one choice in my opinion. When you look at the options of who we can play, I'd rather play Kivior. I even rather play Kivior left back. Like I remember Kivior last season, and I'm not saying that Kivior's the answer. Kivior's, you know, in terms of playing left back, for me, he's behind Timber. He's behind Lewis Skelly. But Kivior's still a better left back than Calafiori. Like Kivior, I remember we played him, what was it, last season? We started in a Liverpool game and he held it down up until we came up against Bayern Munich. So I remember seeing better left back position, I remember seeing better games at Kivior left back than Calafiori left back. I've seen better games and more games and more performances than I have from Calafiori. So yeah, Kivior, even though he's not the answer and did get cooked against Bayern Munich, you know, he had like a 8-10 game run where he was performing decently at left back, Kivior. So I put Kivior, you know, Calafiori really and truly is fourth choice left back. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's, you know, that big of a blow. Calafiori getting injured, and I'm just not convinced with Calafiori in the defensive area. This manager loves to talk about getting the most out of players, and you know, players can do a job and players should be versatile and blah blah blah. I still feel like he doesn't understand Calafiori's strengths and weaknesses. I think he continues to play him as a left back, and he doesn't have the attributes to play left back. He doesn't have the defensive awareness. He doesn't have the ability to win the ball back well. He doesn't have, you know, he doesn't read the game in the right way in terms of when to go forward and when to sit back. I just don't feel like he's got any of those attributes, in my opinion, man. I don't think Calafiori is that type of player. But obviously for the Italian team, obviously they must be gutted the fact that he's out. You know what I mean? They must be gutted. But even so, I think him, you know, Calafiori missing the Fulham game and Everton game, I think we can deal with that without Calafiori. We don't necessarily need Calafiori to win those games. We should be winning those games. And like I said, we need to be, you know, we have to set up we have to set up our best defense up against Real Madrid, and that for me is Ben White right back, Gabriel Saliba with that's not even a debate, and then Timber at left back. You can argue that Timber's our best right back this season. You could argue that, but at the same time, I'd rather see a team, just Ben White ain't going to play left back. So, to get Timber there and to make sure that we're defensively solid, I'd get Timber there. I'd also get Timber at left back because I think Lewis Skelly, even though he's a very good left back and a very good player and doing really well, obviously getting the England call up, he has been rash at times, even against PSV, you know what I mean? Almost getting a red card. I think at times he can be a bit hot-headed. And I think this isn't the occasion nor the competition to allow players to get hot-headed and potentially get red cards and get triggered, and you know what I mean. So I think Timber, more experienced, cool, is cooler mind, and I think that's just better suited to go up against Real Madrid. I think Lewis Skelly would struggle at this point of his career going up against a Rodrigo, and with the occasion itself. So I think Lewis Skelly, I don't think he should start against Real Madrid. I think it should be Timber to start at left back against Real Madrid. So it is what it is. In no scenario am I looking at Calafiori, starting against Real Madrid, to really be honest. So I don't think it's that bad of a miss. I don't think it's that bad of a miss, to be honest. 2 to 3 weeks. You might as well give him 4 weeks. Just let him recover. Do you know what I mean? Don't rush him back. There's no need to rush him back. Well, there's other options that we can use. And yeah, man, that's the thing with Calafiori. Very underwhelming with all the hype around this guy. Obviously he's only 22 years old. He's still young, but with all the hype around him, you know what I mean? It's been underwhelming. You can talk about injuries, but I'm talking about when the player's been available. It's not been to how a lot of this fan base have hyped him up to be, in my opinion. So yeah, man. Calafiori, just another meh, innit? Another meh player. Like, the only thing is he's young, he's still young enough that we can sell him and get, break even, at least minimum break even. But I've not been impressed by this guy. I really have not been impressed by Calafiori at all. And I wouldn't batter an eye if we sold him in the summer. I really wouldn't, because I don't see what Calafiori brings that Zinchenko didn't bring, and Zinchenko's not making it into the team. I don't see what Calafiori brings, that Skelly doesn't bring more or offer more, or that Timber doesn't offer more. So I don't really understand what's the point. We're supposed to be going in the summer getting top wingers. This guy's not a top winger, so it's like, what does this guy really bring? Like, what does he really bring to the table? A bit of energy. Like, come on, man. You're supposed to, it's whatever, innit? Hopefully he gets a speedy recovery, but I will be more than happy to get rid of him in the summer. Big up to everyone that's locked in. Make sure you're subscribing, liking and subscribing, all that good stuff. Big up, familia, and we're out. Love.